Hi, I'm starting today's conference with a quote by Malala. One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. I like this quote because it reflects commitment to lifelong learning, and educators who are lifelong learners are more successful. Teachers with a lifelong learning mindset treat mistakes and challenges as simply as a part of the learning process. They don't see mistakes as failures. And when educators learn, they discover creative teaching methods practically every day. This is also one of the goals of our conference. And educators who engage in lifelong learning set an example for their students because they practice what they teach. This is in turn then encourages their students to develop into lifelong learners. Welcome all the participants from all parts of the Europe on the 19th Pan-European Conference, and welcome all the presenters. Today we will hear 4 exciting presentations, and we will start with a keynote prepared by Andreas and Zdravko with an exciting topic, bringing football to the classroom. Then we will follow with the impact of the virtual learning platform EDUKA on the academic performance of primary school children. Then we continue with a presentation on creating, sharing, and reusing interactive H5P content in mathematics. And we wrap up with the presentation by Zorana, project-based learning, the Roman Narona daily life in ancient Rome. So you see, we have a really diverse program, and we have 1 hour and a half. So we will start soon. But before, I would just like to tell you that also for today's conference, we have certificates of attendance. The link to the site in which you can request the certificate of attendance is in the video description below. So click on it, put in your name, surname, and email address, and then you will receive a certificate within 5 days. So 5 days are we need to process everything. Okay, now I give my word to Andreas. Hi, Andreas.
Hello. Hello, Blanca.
Hello. So Andreas and Zdravko have a presentation on bringing football to the classroom. Firstly, Andreas will say a couple of words about these exciting projects in which they develop lots of material and lesson plans. And then after this, Zdravko will present us a lesson plan. Dear participants, I encourage you to ask questions. So put your questions into the comments, and I'm sure that Andreas and Zdravko will provide answers in the end of their presentation. Okay, so welcome.
Thank you very much, Blanca. Shall I share my screen and start? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andreas Holberger. I am slightly unconventionally dressed today. We are talking about football. I want to talk to you about how you can bring football to the classroom. I represent an association called EuroClio, which is the European Association of History Educators. We are based in The Hague in the Netherlands. I'm also joined by my colleague Zdravko from North Macedonia, who will follow up presenting his particular lesson plan after my brief introduction to our project, Football Makes History. I promise this will be brief, but I just wanted to share a bit more information about who we are, where we're coming from, and what kind of organizations are working on this. Football Makes History brings together 30 team members from 15 countries all across Europe, from Iceland to Cyprus, from Finland to Spain. As part of this project, we brought together history teachers, but also people working in youth clubs, in sports clubs, etc., working with youngsters and youth. We asked them to jointly develop lesson plans that we have published on our platform historiano.eu. There are more than 20 lesson plans touching on football history and football for social inclusion on this platform. Our team of collaborators that we joined together, we are really a group of people coming from different sectors. So I represent history educators. Zdravko is a teacher who came through our network, but we are also from the heritage sector, and we are from the football sector. The Romanian Football Federation and the Eintracht Frankfurt Museum are part of our consortium that have been working on this together. The lesson plans are published in English, but we are also translating some of them to Dutch, German, and Romanian. So you can find activities in different languages. We are also preparing a toolkit with activities that can be used outside of the classroom, and they will be published very soon. So please follow us on footballmakeshistory.eu and on social media, and you'll get all the updates. We also have a lot of life stories, and I'll get back to them, what they are, what that means in the next slide. And I will also share a manifesto with you later that you can also sign if you want to support our work. I mentioned our lesson plans that we have developed, and they all touch on football and football history, but we all share this conviction and a belief that football and football history can, first of all, connect people regardless of sexual orientation, of color, gender, age, nationality, religion, and so on. But that they can also inspire us to have conversations about the present. So it's not only about history, it's also about the present. Our lesson plans, they really touch on very wide-ranging topics and themes. This is one an example from our Historiana platform. If you type in football, you'll find all of the activities there, and you can already see a few snapshots about the kinds of topics they deal with. I wanted to zoom in on one in particular here. Like I mentioned, our lesson plans, they cover themes ranging from migration to identity to women's history, colonialism, conflict and wars, nationalism, racism. This particular example that I pulled out here, in fact, covers nearly all of them. It is the story of Arpad Weiss, who was a Hungarian football player and coach. He spent most of his time coaching in Italy. He then had to flee Italy as the rise of fascism took place all across the continent. He went first to France, then to the Netherlands, and well, eventually he ended his days in a concentration camp. But his life story and the things that he did both off and on the pitch can really tell us, it can be used as a hook to introduce students to all of these topics of migration, of the dark past of Europe in fascism, Nazism, and the Shoah, but also of identity and nationalism. I wanted to share this just as a sample, and Zdravko will actually introduce his own learning activity after me. But I wanted to share this also just so you can see how it's set up. That we have on the top right, you see an approximate time needed to do this with your students. There is the target audience, so this one is made for students that are 13 to roughly 18 years of age. I can't do it now because it's an image, but if you click on the learning outcomes, of course, you get a clear idea of what it is that you can expect your students to get out of this session. I would also like to emphasize that all of our activities are published online, copyright free. Everything in there can be used and tweaked and adapted. It can be downloaded in Word files so that you can change the text if you wish to add on anything or change anything, or even redo it in your own language. Our Historiana platform also features the opportunity to turn all of our published materials there into e-learning activities. So you can use the e-learning e-activity builder to make your own lesson plans. So I encourage you to go and discover Historiana. You will find a lot of materials there, including also source banks and source collections. One thing I wanted to mention about our football project is that it also is useful, and it has been used by people who otherwise don't care about football. And of course, I am aware that it is not universally popular. I think on the continent that we are in Europe, it is by far the most popular and played sport. But in any classroom, of course, you will have students who maybe don't care about football. But that is also the case, that all our activities are about so much more than football. Football is just an entry point to discuss much more important things. We, of course, still believe that football in itself is fun and engaging, and is a nice and useful hook for students to learn. I mentioned our lesson plans, but on our platform, our website, dedicated website for this project, footballmakeshistory.eu, we also have a lot of other materials. There are a number of articles and reviews, but crucially for teachers, also what we call life stories. And some of these life stories are heroic, but many of them are not. Some of them celebrate famous players with an interesting background to them, your Zlatan Ibrahimovic or your Megan Rapinoe or these kind of characters. But some of them also cover people that are much more, say, obscure or forgotten. They were never necessarily good football players. Maybe they weren't even players. They were referees, or they just had something to do with football. Some of them also tell a much more darker story about football, and it can help contextualize the world we live in by sharing examples of the life stories also of some of these successful people, and show how they are also people with conflicting and difficult pasts at times. I wanted to also touch on one last aspect of our work, because I hope that you also seeing Zdravko's activity, which is really targeted. Of course, he's a teacher and he has made it himself, and can share a bit how he intends it to be used in the classroom. So a bit more in depth from just the overview that I'm giving. But please go on our Historiana website and explore and find a lesson plan that could work in your setting. And they're not all only for history educators. I think they can work very well with civics and political science, even language teachers. But I hope that you also share our conviction, and that if you do share our conviction, that diversity of football, the football history and the football heritage can address issues of social exclusion, that you can support us, because we have also made a manifesto that we intend to share with European policymakers. And among the many recommendations that we make are things that are of relevance to teachers, that teachers should be given the freedom to design their lesson plans with activities that aren't necessarily the standard or are innovative, such as ours on football, using football as a hook for students to explore their past and their present. So I would like to encourage you to go on Football Makes History and find a manifesto and sign our petition to help support and get the word out about the resources that are there. Thank you very much for your attention. I didn't want to take too much time because I would like to give the floor to Zdravko for him to share more in detail about one of the activities that will help you as teacher understand better what we are talking about.
So thank you very much, Andreas. There are many comments about this idea in the comments. So Jana is saying this is such an excellent idea to combine sport, history, and values represented by recognized people. And there are many other who are congratulating you for this project. So Zdravko, we are looking forward also to your lesson plan.
Thank you, Blanca. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conference and to present my lesson plan. My name is Zdravko Stojkoski. I am history teacher, researcher, and museum curator from Skopje, Macedonia. And now I will share my learning activity, which was part of the Football Makes History project. I hope you can see it.
Yes, it's all right. Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my activity was concentrated on the history of the European Football Championships and the transformation of modern Europe because of the 60th anniversary of the first European Football Championship, which was held in 1960. And you know that 2020 was the another European Championship, which of course it held this summer in 2021 because of all this stuff about the pandemics. But we celebrated the anniversary in 2020, 60 years of the first European Football Championships, and that was my idea how to connect the history of European football and championships with the old transformations, changes, and happenings that happened in the Europe, in the continent during that time and this period. So that's why, and the main inquiry question here is how did European Football Championships shape and transform the modern Europe? And this was enriched with the illustrations on so the students to create more innovative approach of the students and to investigate through the illustrations as a primary sources. You can see the short description of my activity. And also the activity is for class curriculum, formal activity, and also it could be used as an extracurricular activity, or also it could be used in an informal education, in some form of collaboration between schools, museums, some football team, football association, or maybe collaboration with some organization of yachts, of football fans, with all these institutions and cultural organizations and places of culture. The activity is combination of lecture, students' activity, and exposition. And of course, it focuses on the students' creativity and innovative work. The learning outcomes will be for students to understand the value of football and European Football Championships in the modern European history and society, then create historical consciousness through learning about football at football competitions, and also learn innovative ways of understanding history and society, using pictures as source collection to select them and prepare them for some form of exhibition. The target students are the high school students from 15 to 19 years, between 15 and 19, and approximate time of the activity is 90 minutes. So as part of the activity, there is a student material and also a teacher materials, which, as Andreas said, you can find together with this main plan at the Historiana platform. Student materials consists of cards or illustrations, images and their descriptions, and the teacher material consists some of mainly textual material document, which will help teachers and educators to prepare the lesson and the activity. The challenges, some of the challenges are to make history accessible, encourage multi-perspectivity, and others also to awaken applied knowledge of the past, to aware students to be aware about the change and continuity in history, and of course to present the past and the history. Now you can see the activity plan in details. Here is some elements of assessment for the teacher. Prior knowledge, of course, the students should have some prior knowledge about these topics. For example, to know in some basic forms the history of Europe in the 19th century, and also to have some interest in football and sport. It will be very useful. Some suggestions for teacher at first and students, how to find there in some difficult forms maybe during the activity. Then resources, I already mentioned short lecture from the teacher, illustrative cards or photos with the descriptions and questions in which students will discuss. And this is the detailed description plan. I will not bother with this too much because it's because of the time, of course, at first. Questions to consider and discuss. This is some of the questions of topics that students should discuss during the activity. Parts of the teacher's material also that I created to easy the teachers to prepare the lessons, and especially the part of the teacher for the lecture. And also the idea was that activity, it is important to say that the idea was the activity plan to be flexible. So teachers may decide to choose some other topics, illustrations or questions for discussion, and to propose some others if they find that there will be suitable for them and for the successful realization of the activity. So the activities is flexible, and also different teachers for different regions from different identity could prepare on their own way, or include some their illustrations or their ideas, of course, as a part in the framework of the learning activity and the idea. Also, the advice is maybe the most appropriate way to practice this activity is for the recapitulation of some larger thematic unit. For example, some units in the form of, for example, Europe since the Second World War, because as you can already see, that is a very large topic and very huge period for the examination. And also the idea was this lesson plan, this activity, not to be only for the history teachers and for the history for the classes, but also to be used in for another classes and subjects, for example, for citizenship education, in any forms of teaching, learning about democracy, European integration, social inclusion, and so on. So this, if I have a couple of minutes, I will show some practical example that until now it was some theoretical form. I hope you understand, have some basic knowledge what is about, but I will try to show now some practical scenarios, how it could look in the classes. For example, one topic that students may talk about or may discuss during the practicing of this activity. Interesting topic will be ideological splits in Europe during this period, and European football championships, for example, in the context of this ideological rivalry. For example, communism and fascism seen through the football rivalry between Soviet Union and Spain. For example, in the European football final in the 1964. Or also you can use also ideological struggles and rivalry inside the Eastern Bloc. For example, between Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. That ideological struggle was also very much seen in the football field between the national teams of Yugoslavia and Soviet Union. It was never the matches between these countries were never only the football matches. There was many more behind that. There were more than a games. Or student protest of 1968 and European football final from 1968, when there was European Championship holding in Italy in that time, and Yugoslavia and Italy playing in the final. And in the same period, there were huge student protests all over the Europe, student revolution, which also affected Yugoslavia, Belgrade, one socialist country, which was almost unimaginable in that time to have that kind of student protest in a socialist state. And it is very interesting, for example, for me, how people felt in that period. In one side, watching their football team playing European finale, and on other side there were huge protests on the streets, occupation of the universities, and clashes with the police, etc. Another idea, for example, the end of the Cold War and European unification, and in the same period, dissolution of Yugoslavia, war and conflicts, seen through the eyes of the European Championship from 1992. And one very 1992, which was very memorable year, connecting the European integration and European creation of the European Union. But on another side, it was period of the new clashes and conflicts in the Balkans. And a very interesting story about Euro 1992 was that Yugoslavia was in that period had one of the most important football generations in history. But because of that war and sanctions, the Yugoslav team was not allowed to to take part in the championship in Sweden, and the team of Denmark was allowed to play, and they eventually won the championship. It was huge success for Denmark, for whole of Europe. One team which was underdog, eventually at the end to win the championship. But if you, for example, if you learning the history of European football championships from the famous Panini album, you will never find the Danish team in the Panini album of 1992 European Championship, because there was never planned. Denmark was even didn't qualify for the tournament. But you can find the team of former Yugoslavia, the representation and their footballers. Also, we can learn European history of women's rights movements for gender equality from the history of the, for example, European Women Championships. Many still know that stereotype that football is not for women, for example. It will be also an interesting topic to discuss for students. And also in the contemporary time, in the actual situation, connecting the migrations and the refugee crisis, migrant crisis in Europe. Also the students, it will be important or may find very interesting to learn the migrations, the history of migrations and the contemporary Europe through the football examples. For example, especially through the football national teams and the identity of these teams, of the footballers that are playing for the teams in contemporary world. For example, one interesting example could represent the France national football team, which are world champions from the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Okay. Okay, I will stop here. Thank you for your attention. I hope I was not very much boring about all this stuff. And now, if there are some questions or comments, maybe we could address.
Congratulations to both of you. You have to see the comments so that you will see that the presentation was really interesting, because there are many great comments. But I would like to ask you a question. And so here on the screen, you can see, maybe you both can comment on that. Jana is interested to know how the students perceive the relevance of past in the light of the current situation in sport and society as such. Have they maybe brought any innovative ideas for the future?
I can start from my perspective, and then Zdravko, maybe if he has any experience with his own students, we can talk on that. But from what I see is that it's always so much more engaging if you can connect the past and the present with students, and it's always a challenge, of course, as a history teacher to do that, I think. But if you are able to really connect the past with what's happening now and share how it is relevant, that's the way to make sure that students have an interest in this. And what I've seen from speaking with with teachers who've been using some of our materials, I mentioned in my presentation the life stories. I've been in touch with some teachers who weren't part of the project but picked them up, saw them online and shared them with the students. They actually did a couple of exercises where students came and requested to use football in the classroom. So there was one student who had no interest in history but was very interested in football, and asked the teacher based here in the Netherlands, can we use this? The teacher very bravely suggested that the student actually they did like a reverse classroom activity where the student actually became the teacher and selected the life stories to focus on, and then jointly, of course, with the help of the teacher, framed a lesson for the rest of the class. But yeah, that's just, I'm not a teacher myself, so I think Zdravko is probably better at answering the question directly about his experience with his students.
But yes, of course, the past is relevant for the not for the only for the present, but also for the future. And we should and we could learn a lot from the past, and to implement it in the present and future. And also there are a lot of things that could be learned from the sports and sporting activity. Football is one very excellent coach, I think, for and excellent teacher for many aspects of the political, social, economical life. If we want to try to understand the situation, and also it is interesting for the students themselves, because the students are too much bored with the history, full of wars, full of examples from the wars, for the military heroes, for example, or other heroes, but not so much for the people like sportsmen or footballers or women in the sports and in the society. So through their example, through their life stories, for example, that is very interesting product, the life stories of EuroClio and Chris that we had. They can open huge doors about the history, about the present situation, and they can learn a lot of things. And I find us also as an innovative form for teaching and presenting the students in this period. And also, of course, the element of illustrations, of images, because now in this modern period, my experience is that the young students didn't like too much to read or to big text, but they can learn from the videos, from the ordinary pictures, slideshows. So it is interesting to present them as a source.
Okay, so we have one more question here. Theodora is commenting, football proves to be more than just a genuine competition or game, but a strategy with political consequences and ideological splits or context. So how is football influenced by political correctness?
I mean, football is very, very political. There is no doubt about that. I'm always surprised when I hear people in sports saying the opposite, that, oh yeah, we shouldn't mix football and politics, or we shouldn't mix sports and politics. I think that is impossible. And it's influenced by all kinds of political forces. You have football clubs or football fans that are linked to right-wing extremism, to left-wing extremism, and everything in between. And of course, I mean, there are now many issues that are in our society that are now being also, in a sense, tackled on the football field, on the football pitch, in the stadium. You've seen over the course of the European Championship this summer how there were protests related to the Black Lives Matter movement, where players take the knee, or maybe it's also a statement not to take the knee. Everything is somewhat political at the end of the day. So football is not any different from any other field, but that's why it's so interesting to use in the classroom, because it is something that is touching a lot of kids and adults too, myself included, my imagination. I have a lot of feelings about football, but I can also see how it can then be an avenue for start discussing about some of these political or historical events that are also happening right now. I hope I answered the question. Zdravko, maybe you want to add?
Yes, I don't have anything to add. I agree, of course, that the football is political in many ways, and not only political, but also it has vital social influence in many aspects of the life and reality of the people. Not in politics, of course, you mentioned it, even in the economical life, in the cultural life, and in many other aspects of the. So that's why it is relevant, and its place in the classroom, among other things.
All right, so thank you very much for your contribution to this conference. Now we proceed with Irina. Irina, welcome. Hello, nice to meet you and welcome to the conference. Her presentation is entitled The Impact of the Virtual Learning Platform EDUKA on the Academic Performance of Primary School Children. So we have here one presentation that concerns primary teachers. Thank you very much for bringing up this topic. Now the floor is yours. You can start sharing. In the meanwhile, while Irina is preparing her presentation, I can just mention that all your questions are welcome. You can put them in the chat and we will try to answer them. And also, Irina is getting connected, so we will wait a little bit. And also, I can take this opportunity to invite you to another event that we have in the future. You can see on the screen, this event is on Monday, 8th November. Empower the connection with your teenager. This is 1 hour webinar. We will host two really successful therapists who are also a couple and parents of 4 children. So I'm looking forward to this event and I kindly invite you all to come. And I will put in the comments also the link where you can apply for the webinar. It's free and it's in English, of course. So, Irina, are we ready? Or otherwise, I can share your presentation, okay?
It will be better.
Then, yes, just allow me a second so that I will start sharing. Okay. Okay. So this is it, yes?
Yes, that's right. So I can start?
Yes, yes, welcome.
So good afternoon or good evening, I don't know. In my time, there is about 6 o'clock. So, and now I want to present one of our research about education, digital education and mathematical achievement for primary school children. And what does it mean? For example, mathematical literacy and digital learning. It's like the rapid changes in science and technology have increased the value of information in the age we are currently live. It's like we know that is the digital age. And so according to the researchers, for example, 21st century, it's considerably more important that students learn to think, question, and find an answer, find the required information, select it, and then apply it. And it's not all important for our students. I think so it's important and for us, for teachers, to find out the way how to present our materials more innovative. And in today's fast-changing and advancing world, it's important to be able to quickly adapt to development technologies and the modern management methods. It's like citizen who has a good knowledge of mathematics and is able to apply mathematical skills, mathematical thinkings, and sustainability more successful and a variety on fields and like education and world work and etc. And now, quality of mathematical literacy. Education in primary schools forms a solid foundation for future higher learning achievements and learning success, which later had to successful adaptation and future success in many areas, life and again academic work in life and social communication and at all. So we analyzed the current learning situation of Lithuanian primary school children and found long-term stability, as well as average or low mathematical literacy achievement, which indicates of a problem, unsuccessful learning. For example, the National Survey of Students' Achievement in 2014, the majority of class 4 grade students achieve a basic or satisfactory level of achievement. It's like 58.5% and 25.6% respectively, while only about 12% achieved a higher level of achievement. And why we can integrate of virtual teaching and learning platform in primary education. So it's allow for announcing information related to teaching and learning, social interaction among students, parents, and educators. It's like the communications take place in discussion forums via mail or other means of communication. It's like Zoom or Teams or Google Class and so on. Provides innovative technology-based pedagogy. It's like teaching, learning, assistant, or consultation. It's like personalized learning path from educational content. And personal learning progress. It's like practical task, knowledge test, and other activities. The increasing presence of and relevance of information and communications technology in learning centers have imposed new domains on teachers. Who must be able to design new learning situation while relying on growing supply of available digital sources. And in this slide, you can see this modern digital technology, or maybe I can say that is a platform communication and learning. And we another slide, so it's example how students or teachers can find information. We can find task, a lot of tasks via and teachers' books and books for students. So EDUKA Classroom and EDUKA Gradebook have integrated in functionality. For example, library of digital resources with more than 400 digital textbooks, more than 25,000 different types of digital assignments, diagnostic and pilot tests, and other useful information for teachers is provided, and its content is continuously updated. So the learning organization function is used by teachers to prepare their lessons, collect and store teaching and methodological materials in the account, use EDUKA Classroom resources, and supplement them with their own selection. It's like tailor subject contents according to individual students' abilities and create original tasks and tests of different complexity and different types. The group creation function allows the teachers to divide the students into groups according to planned goals, those creating preconditions and students to perform in groups, the interactions and cooperations. The communication and feedback functions allows the distribution of individually prepared learning materials and tasks to a students or group of students. So we can apply a topic in more depth, then complete a task and immediately obtain feedback. The progress monitoring and data analysis function of EDUKA Gradebook allows teachers to collect and analyze large amounts of data, helping them to make timely learning improvement decisions for specific students or group of students with similar characteristics. And in the slides, you can find a virtual teaching learning platform, EDUKA, its live model. And from our connecting to students and teachers. So if you want, I can share and to discuss more about it, but I think there are no time for discuss what does it mean. But summarizing, it's 5 points that I presented before. And what was the purpose of our study? Was to establish the effect of learning digital assessment platform EDUKA on the learning outcomes on primary grade students in the subjects of mathematics. Participants. We had 4 schools we are chosen from different districts of Lithuania. We have control group involved 43 girls and 46 boys aged from 6 to 7 in experimental groups, 55 girls and 44 boys. In Lithuania we have it is the first grade. So we create and adapt mathematical diagnostic progress test. So what does it mean? We are isolated into two segments. The tasks we are distributed by execution levels and the substance just the fields of action and intellectual ability. The evaluation of all territories of action depended on the primary students' presentations. It's like satisfactory, unsatisfactory, basic, and advanced. And now we can find distribution of mathematical learning achievements by curriculum content. So diagnostic tests of mathematics evaluate of the students' knowledge, skills, subject and general skills of mathematics, and we grade in the first grade according to 5 fields of mathematics education curriculums. It is numbers and calculations, phenomena, equations, inequalities, geometry, measurement, and 4 number is statistics, and 5 communication and general problem solving strategies. So you can find the images from this test. It's mathematics progress diagnostic test. We made 3 different mathematics progress tests. We have 3 points of testing. Before, it's like a photo of our students when we are coming from the gardens, I can say, yeah. It's preschool, it's preschools. After that, it was about in the middle of our learning age. It was in April, no, not in April, it was in February. Yeah, it was in February, and the last measurement was in May. So the experimental group was tested for 8 months. We wanted to see 8 months. We're learning from EDUKA, 8 months in the digital EDUKA platform. The experimental group was subject of systemic integration in the learning digital assessment platform, I can say EDUKA, into the mathematics lessons, while the control group had traditional mathematics lessons without the use of the learning digital assessment platform. It was before pandemic. So, and in this slide, I want a little bit to share my opinion and to share our test results. So, if you can say that we have pre-test, middle test, and post-test. And there are the levels: satisfactory, basic, and advanced. So after experimental or in experimental group, we can find that when we are used digital learning platform EDUKA, our results is more better. It's like a white color. We can see that is differences between control and experimental group. Is statistical. Statistics are more higher. Our achievement is more higher. For example, in advanced level, we have seen a little bit more our kids. Achievement was higher. Yeah, in the next slide. So you can find cognitive ability test. So it's like knowledge and understanding, application, and higher thinking skills. And in this table, you can find that our experimental groups, especially higher thinking skills, it's statistical higher achievement than in control groups. So, and in the last table, we can find distribution of mathematical learning achievements according to curriculum contents. It's like numbers and calculations, phenomena, geometry measurement, statistics and communication, and general problem solving skills. Again, we can find that after experiment, for our experimental groups, all of the achievement of all of mathematical learning achievement according to curriculum content. In post-test result, we have more achievement, high achievement than in control group. And summarizing conclusion, I can say that it was found that intensively integrating the learning digital assessment platform into formal education, specifically in the subject of mathematics, had a significant impact on primary school children's mathematical performance. So after the experiment, the difference between test and post-test results of the primary school children with satisfactory level decreased significant satisfaction. In addition, after experiment, a statistically significant differences was found in primary school children with higher levels The study revealed that experimental group demonstrated higher source in application and higher thinking skills area at the end of the study. Pupils' higher cognitive skills of thinking and application have significantly developed in comparison to the research group, which did not apply the virtual learning assessment platform EDUKA during mathematics education. And the last, the intervention of experimental group, the integration of virtual learning platform into formal mathematics learning process had a positive impact on access to mathematics. Students' math learning achievements were positive in progressive mathematics skills. So, demonstrating high achievements in mathematics among students by the fields of content and activity, significant advance in the cognitive abilities. It's very important because it's not only for small kids and for us. Cognitive ability is dependent for our brains. Of the students' thinking and application were evident in the experimental groups of virtual learning platform in the process of mathematics education. But these did not apply to that of the control group. So thank you so much for our experiment. Maybe you have some questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I will see whether there are questions in the comments. I have to check because during presentation I was not able to see any comments. Just a second. Oh. Okay, I will go through. Okay, hello. Yes, here I see one question. So does the EDUKA provide students with some tools for self-assessment also? And are the results available for the teachers?
Yes, of course, we EDUKA have and self-assessment. It's one grade, but in this experiment we didn't check it, but it's possible to make a self-assessment.
Great, that's really great, and it's also great to know, to really have data that are proven that when we are working with digital tools that we actually help our students, because teachers are sometimes ask ourselves whether we are doing or not the right thing. So that's really great to know. Thank you very much, Irina, for your work and for your experiment that you shared with us. Now we move to Igor. Hi, Igor.
Hello.
Hello, yes. So Igor has another presentation for us entitled Creating, Sharing and Reusing Interactive H5P Content in Mathematics. So he will share another platform with us, and I hope you will find it useful also for your work.
Let's start sharing the screen. I think that's everything. Yeah, it's now okay. Let's first introduce myself. My name is Igor Bogdanoski. I'm primary teacher from Blaže Koneski in Prilep, North Macedonia. First of all, welcome to my presentation of creating and sharing and reusing interactive H5P content in mathematics. We know how mathematics is very difficult subject and one of the most difficult subjects that we teach in our schools. Excuse me. And we also we start my presentation with one quote that says, education is not filling the bucket with the water, but education is actually starting the fire. Today, I will not teach you how to make interactive content, but I will try to start a fire. Let's start our journey. What are goals for today. First, we shall discuss what is that H5P. Then we shall say what we can make. Then how do we make it? We will give several examples, and finally we will talk about analytics. And at the end of this presentation, I will give some resources that are mentioned. Also, during this presentation, I will first introduce some theoretical parts, and then I will give practical examples of what we do. Let's start. What is H5P? H5P, H stands for HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, we know that. 5 stands for 5, and P stands for package. What that means? That is web-based software that allows to create interactive content. Like the WordPress icon logo that we have here, the Drupal and the Moodle are in this moment the only LMSs. For example, Moodle is the only LMS of those three that in the core code has the H5P integrated. But Blogger, the Blackboard, the Schoology, the Weebly or Canvas can all accept H5P content. Also, it's good to mention that if you have a browser, you can create interactive content. For example, this is the H5P official website. I will share the link later, but it's very easy, h5p.org, and this is the website where all started. This is a small company that started the business. All you have to do to start the created interactive content is to create an account from the right hand corner where it says create a free account, and on the front page of this site there is interactive content with the flashcard. Later we will discuss how we can do that. And the motto of H5P are the 3 sentences that are on the slide: create, share, and reuse and modify. We will discuss later. H5P is a free, but with some limitations. I will discuss what is the limitation. H5P is based on Java and is a programming language, but it's free for use and incorporated on your teaching. But limitations we will discuss later. Nothing comes with free. We can use it and share it with ease, but we need somewhere to store and share those content. But storing and sharing very easy. I will show later how to that. Good side because is very low, very short learning curve. We have easy to use templates. We have plenty examples on a landing page, which we'll discuss later. There are plenty of tutorials and demos. What can I make? I will go around first to introduce you all with the topic, and then practically we will do all of those things. We can do almost everything, but I use primarily for my formative assessments. For example, when you log it, we will discuss later, you will end up in, as you can see, examples and downloads on this slide, and we have documentations, and we can create interactive content directly on H5P landing page, but you first need to be registered. You don't have account, but limitations started there. We will discuss later for that. Offers a collection of H5P content types. I said collections. There are more than 50 content types, but on the homepage you will find the most used collections. As said in this slide, there are over 50 content types to choose from. For example, I was using H5P for more than 2 years and I mastered only the 10 content types. And that is how big is huge collections. We all know who teach mathematics that mathematics is very hard to teach. In every platform we find a problem how to write the mathematical expressions that we use. The fractions are drawn with numerator and denominator and a fraction line, but To use that in H5P, we need to use the library, and I will show you the link. The link is in the presentation. I think the presentation will be shared later, and I will explicitly show how to incorporate this library. How do we make it? First, we go to the H5P pages. Then, this is H5P, where we have a collection of interactive content. Then, this is example, second one, where we can create our H5P locally on our PC, or in Mac, or in Linux. This QR code will lead you to the web page shown here, that is next.lumi.education, where you can download your Lumi version on your PC and start. As you can see in the download section, you can download the installation as is shown in this picture for the Windows or Mac or Linux. We'll discuss. Also, if you have a Windows PC, you can go to the Microsoft Store and search for Lumi, and you will find the Lumi interactive content with H5P, and you can download there and store it on your PC. When you start the Lumi locally, either will be from the Lumi website, Lumi Education download, or from the Microsoft Store, the interface is the same. This is the landing page, and we will discuss later about that, but first introduce you to the right. You have update. If you see the logo update, that means some of the content types are updated, and you should check that. In H5P editor, you can start your first H5P interactive content, and in Lumi Analytics, we will discuss how to track our analytics. In this picture, on a Lumi settings window is shown the math library. Without this library, we cannot show mathematical formulas. Also, it's good to know or to have some nifty math tool. I will show it now. This is the math type, the famous math type, to use the mathematical formulas to creating very easy formulas. But you need to do some preparation. Go to preferences and copy and cut preferences. Then in this new window, you will choose MathML or text. Use that one, or you can do down. We need to choose LaTeX 2.01 or later, and click OK. Now our math type is ready to make equation for Lumi. Later I will show you how to do that. Let's continue our presentation. If your school or you as an individual teacher has access to the Moodle LMS, in our country we are working on national platform for digital learning, and we have the Moodle as the main part. There you have, this is for example in this picture, one of my courses that I teach, and a content bank on that course. We all have a chance to add interactive content, but this is very tricky because you need to write several mails to the admins of your LMS for example, start the math library, because without math library we cannot do math in this LMS, but it's possible. Now shortly I will tell several examples, then we shall continue practically this. When we go to H5P, that is landing official page, h5p.org, and go to examples and downloads. There I will show practically, I will go back to see, there are listed all types of interactive content, and each type has the demo or tutorial how that interactivity is done. This is second page where we can find a lot of resources. As you can see, this is the Moodle website, and this QR code will lead you to this page where you can see a lot of resources of H5P. This is another very interesting, this is a German-based website, one of the only free website who operates on donations only, where you can store and create your own H5P content. This link of the website is in the resources page. I must say that you must first register yourself and wait for a couple of days to approve your verification, and then you can start using. As you can see on the slides, we can create several examples, but you need to first specify the title, the grade, and the field where the content is related. We said about the analytics. In the previous examples, I say about the analytics. Analytics with H5P comes if you use H5P as a plugin on your LMS. Then the LMS takes the grading and analytics for you. But it's good to mention that Lumi or H5P works directly in your browser. When you create your H5P content on locally with Lumi or in the web base h5p.org or a German website that I mentioned, you can create the file. That file, I will show you later, you can export to the teacher in 3 formats, and when the students take the quiz or the interactivity, the students solves that locally in their PCs or their devices, because this is totally in H5P and that is device independent. You can use in every device that is connected to the internet and has the browser. Students need to download the package on the PC, and after solving with one click, I will show later, the software generates the Lumi file with the extensions .lumi, and that files need to be sent to the teacher. Then teacher in Lumi Analytics can upload all the files from the students and have the analytics. And this is good done for when the assessments or quizzes or interactivity is done in the school in central place or can be done locally. I will show data. This is how the analytics looks. Those the names and the percentage done on interactivity. Sharing the heart is the heart of Lumi. As seen in this picture, the first one is create, then we go to share, and then reuse and modify. Create sharing using is very, very easy. When I create interactive content, I need only to share the file with my colleagues, then they can modify the content because the H5P is free to use. I will later show how that is done practically in one example. This is, for example, how looks one completely finished interactive content. This is an area of triangles. As you can see, first, this is the flashcard content type. There are several cards where the students need to write their answers. In the top, we are on the edit part, and if we go to the view part, we can see what looks like that we created. I will show you later practically how that's done. When we are finished, we need to go to File and Export, and we have a new window with the 3 options. All-in-one HTML file, all-in-one HTML and several media files, and we have SCORM package. All we need to use SCORM package. What we have the LMSs, we use a lot of SCORM packages, and then if we like to include the reporter, we may turn off the included reporter options at the bottom. And finally, I usually use or a SCORM package or the first options, and then click the export button. After that, I have the file that I can share with my colleagues. Those are the resources that I will share with the presentation. Before we go to our final thought of this presentation, I will share practical examples of Lumi. This is Lumi, and I will lead you throughout to see how looks one of the presentation. For example, I will first of all, you can on the left hand side, you can realize that those are the activities that I created previously on my computer, now that they are open. By the pictures, you know what activity or content type you created, and I have several of those. I will use to demonstrate the flashcard that I said. I will click the View button, and now I can see what the students see. This is a question with the picture with a question, and students need to type the question, type the answer, and check. For example, I will write which will the triangles will be right angled. Let's try yes. No. Then we go. We have second question. Then we go third, fourth, etc. Those are the questions. If you like to export this, for example, we are going to the File menu and click Export. And now we have place where to export this. I will export to my desktop. This is as H5P file, and I click Save. Now the file is saved. If you click Export, I will export HTML file, and I include the reporter. I will click Export, and also I will try to export that. And now I will show you how it looks exported file. For students to be using this exported file, only they need to have a browser on their computers to see that. Now we can see how the students can solve that. To the right, this is the button where we can create or download the name. Students will put their name after solve the questions, and this is needed for me as a teacher in my reporting. I will click OK, and this is down. This is Igor.lumi, and that file the students need to send to me for my analytics to work. This is how the file is exported. Let's now try to create one easy, quick type. Those are all content types that we can create. I can scroll down and you can count them. There are more than 50. You can realize for some of them you have details, and some on white and get. That means you can get those and use them. Those that I have details are used for me. For example, I will choose arithmetic quiz for this one. That is fast, easy, and very easy to click on that. Now we have pictures of what will look like when it's finished. We can use the content demo to see the demo of the content type or activity, or we can click the install button to install this quiz for the first time. And I have the message that this quiz is successfully installed, and I will use it. First golden rule is when creating in some platform is to leave the defaults as it is, and then try to change one by one and choose what is best for the moment. Sorry, let's first find presentation. No. First we write the title. I write the quiz, then we write the intro. We don't do that now. In quiz type, we can choose what quiz type we want. We have arithmetic quiz and linear equation quiz. I will try to create a linear equation quiz. Then we choose equation type. We have 3 equation types: basic, intermediate, and advanced one. I will choose advanced one. You can enable fractions as an answer and choose the maximum number of questions. All this is done how? 10 seconds. This is everything that we need to do to make a quiz. Now we go to the view part and our quiz is done. This is the text and this is the start button. 3, 2, 1 and quiz begins. This is the equation the students need to answer. I will do mentally. I think that is minus. I think that and the quiz continue. To the right is the time the students need. To the left is the score, and this is what students will see. We are going to the file. We can save it as, or export it as we discussed previously. I will save that. I will save that demo 1 on my desktop, and the quiz is ready to be shared. How to enable the mathematics that I promised to show you. Go to the settings to the right, and then H5P libraries, and then you will see all the libraries that are installed on your PC. There must be math library that I displayed previously. If that library isn't displayed there, in the descriptions, in the presentation, there is a link to the math library, and you can upload as any file in your PC. This is the way of creating an easy activity. If you like, you can create an even more activity. Say this is a presentation, for example, how we look like. I said I don't have time to go to create it each one of these. Is there a problem? Hello? Hello? Is any problem? I can't hear nothing.
Everything works normally. We hear you, we see you.
Are any problems?
Okay.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear us. All right, so maybe we lost a connection. So thank you very much, Igor. Yeah, but fortunately everything was presented all right. So we will conclude and go to our last presentation. But
please
before
tell
we go,
me if it's everything okay. I cannot hear anything.
everything is okay. Okay. So yes, I will just take this opportunity to invite you also to the next conference, which is on 18th of November. This conference will be devoted to a special topic. I hope you like it. Work for life, personal and professional development for teachers. So we will speak about you, about your profession, and interesting topics will be discussed, also about work-life balance, etc. Okay, and now our last presenter is here. She's outside. Welcome, Zorana.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear?
Yes, we
can
hear
you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I have succeeded to share my presentation. Is it visible?
Your whole screen is visible, but now we need your presentation.
I don't know what I have messed up. Can you see it now?
No, we see your whole screen. You know, we see your. Now we see. Yes.
Okay, this is supposed to be the first slide. Is it visible, Blanca?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay.
It says the title, Project-Based Learning, the Roman Narona Daily Life in Ancient Rome.
Okay, well, thank you, Blanca. Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry. I am sitting somewhere outside in the cafe bar connected to Wi-Fi because I'm more than 530 kilometers away from my native town. because of the circumstances. So I have to do the projection this way. Sorry. I hope that you will be concerned about my circumstances, right? Blanca, do you want me to start with my project, or you want to say a few words before that?
No, you can start.
Because we are over the time. We are over the time.
Yes, I know,
okay.
But your presentation is worth to listen, so we will.
Thank you.
Thank you. But just put your slide on, because now we see all the slides, so you just go to the presenters mode.
You want it to be like this? Is it okay now?
Yes, now it's okay, yes.
Okay. May I go on, please?
Please, yeah, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello, my name is Zorana Vekić. I'm a teacher in secondary school in Metković in Croatia. We do a lot of stuff about the digital education, about the cultural heritage. So what my students and me decided to do was about a very famous Roman ex-empire place, which is in the vicinity of our native town, and it is called Narona. So here is a short presentation. I'll try to be concise because I know that we are over the time, but I'll try not to speed up too much. So the title is the Roman Narona Daily Life in Ancient Rome, and the point is, in fact, how to approach the student, the project-based learning more. The abstract of the project was that the students had the merit to mutually cooperate and to focus on the entire social and economic aspect of the Narona. So after using various games, they completed research with Minecraft processing program, and also they included the treasure hunt game. The treasure hunt game referred to all the Roman recipes, which I hope you will be able to see later on. And we also did the autobiographical timelines, which engage their own past and experiences, and they managed to build up a sense of temporal context for their own sense of self. So all the keywords can be easily found on the internet later on. I will give you the code where you can try to find the keywords like Narona, Empire, Treasure Hunt, Chronological Order, and Timeline. So if you pay attention to the table of summary here, you can see that all the subjects are interdisciplinary, like history, geography, art, Latin, English, ITA. And we dealt with the time of the 3rd century BC. The age of the student was between 15 and 17. The preparation time was 40 minutes, but we did 4 45 minutes lessons. We used QR code generator, which is visible and applicable on the internet. You will see it later on, and various resources for this year's lesson. I would like to add up that EuroClio platform, which is quite a favorable one now in Europe, was very much interested in our lesson. So they also put our project on their website, and we use some of their resources. Of course, we integrated it into the curriculum, and we established the aim of the lesson. The aim of the lesson was that students should be familiar with the historical changes related to the historically significant Narona existence and its disappearance. Narona was the biggest Roman empire in those times. And today you can see a very nice museum over there, which I will show on our later slides. The outcome of the lesson was also very structured, because the students could identify characteristic elements of ancient Roman Empire. They analyzed also economic and religious aspects of ancient Rome. They even acted out some of the regional scenes. So they recorded some of it, and they made documentary programs. Some of them were able to do the digital map of food pyramid in Roman times. Why is this very important? Because the trends which we included referred to cloud-based learning, to inquiry-based science learning, to project-based learning, then the peer learning partnership, mobile learning, and student-centered learning. I don't want to bother now about the details about it. Blanca has my PowerPoint presentation, so she can proceed it to you if you are interested in which way we did this, because I have to speed up a little bit since this is really overtime, as Blanca expected. But we incorporated the 21st century skills like information, media, technology. We did environmental literacy, learning and innovation skills. And the most important thing was that students were collaborative. So they worked in groups of 3 and they have to cooperate very closely. Which activities did we do? Well, the most important part is that as a teacher, I displayed the visual Roman forum, and students could discuss the visual by sharing what they knew about ancient Roman Narona site. They discussed about it, and it was related to the previous discussion of daily Roman life. And this was our project planning. We make a project plan. The whole school created even living museum. Each class gets one artist or one period in art history. They did the research on European resources, which were needed for the creation of the museum. And the most important part for me as a teacher who was monitoring this approach was inclusive approach. So what I want to emphasize here is that the students with special needs also participated in this activity through experimentation with certain food, because we have the whole class of students with special needs, and they are the cooks in our vocational school. And they were more than willing to participate in that, and I'm very proud of them. I have to praise their activities, and also they were very responsible because they assigned so nicely to this group. We implemented the project not only in the English class, but in the history class, geography class, and other classes, and it lasted for 2 weeks. Then we presented the project. We opened the craft mind game, where students use the material which they have been preparing that almost for 2 weeks, because the point of that Minecraft game was that the jury, which was made, of course, of the students from the other class, were ready to judge the quality of the treasure hunt they made, while the other students were participating according to the assigned rules by the group leader. Me as the teacher and the students, we were somehow monitoring that familiar idea, and some of the parents were also invited to be involved. In some other classes, our idea was to encourage other students to create autobiographical timelines, identifying important moments of their own life, of their own events, and found some memories of best meal they have ever had. Because we were making the pyramid later on in Roman times, and we compared that pyramid, food pyramid, with nowadays living. And we placed that in the chronological order, from our childhood till nowadays. So if you wish also, you can consider something of that, because we hosted the cooks from the class which I mentioned with the special needs from our school, and they were willing to compete in preparing of some ancient recipes. We did some after implementation, and I was quite pleased what students succeeded. And students did the peer assessment. They got the feedback. They made a brochure of the topic, which we called Healthy Nutrition in Roman Times, in the Microsoft Office Publisher. So they create a healthy food video and attach it to the YouTube and Vimeo. To debate on this theme, modern teen diseases, we also did the topic about anorexia and bulimia as the worst problems in teenage today's lives. I made some marks of mine here. I think that all the students achieved the goals because they were good working. We had nice atmosphere, and each member really was active, and they fully realized all the tasks that were assigned. They communicated, they collaborated, they used critical thinking to reach the solution. So the presentation showed that they really are aware of good skills. So I can emphasize that students with special needs actively participated in testing of starch foods, achieving also their goals. I will try to do it now. Just let me see. Here, you can see the QR code for the YouTube where you can see the Minecraft. And on the left-hand side, you can see the Kahoot quiz, which we did about the Roman food. I'm not sure if we have, Blanca, now enough time to project all this stuff, because the YouTube lasts about 12 minutes and Kahoot for a few minutes. But I think that I'd better speed up, because you can send them later on, the same QR codes, in the chat box or through the emails, because it is the best way. For them when they find time to check how we did it. The Minecraft is under the title Treasure Hunt Game, Roman Wine Recipe Ingredients. So the students made the Minecraft hunt game to find the proper Roman wine recipe, which is really definitely aligned to the one which was dug up on the in situ place of the today's museum. What do you think, Blanca? I think it's better to proceed these QR codes later on. Do you agree?
Yes,
Okay.
Dear participants, you already have your presentation at
Okay.
our Facebook group.
Yes, that's nice. If they are willing to scan it, yes, I prefer. That's very good. Okay.
Yeah,
They don't have to play it now, but they can peek a little bit at it. So just to find out how the students did it. Okay.
Exactly. So congratulations.
There are some slides just to end up, Blanca. Okay, this is the Narona Archaeological Museum today. This is how it looks like. And it is the unique and the only one museum in Europe which is in situ, which means it is dug up exactly on the very place they found it. So this is the museum with the statues of Roman emperors. It is the only museum in Europe, even Rome doesn't have the one similar to this, where you can find the temple of Augusteum, ex-emperor of Rome, and you can't see in any other museum so many emperor wives or sons or daughters in one place like here. So that's why it is called in situ museum. Also, we are placed here where you can see this map sign. This is the place of Narona, and this is the place of my native town, Metković, that we come from. And this is the ancient map, how it looked in the Roman time. And for my last slide, I will be so polite and ask you to scan this code as well, because I need this for my school. My principal asked me, so that you can be the judge of my presentation. And if you scan this code, you will go to my Google form and you will evaluate my presentation if you think that it can be applicable at your school with your students or not. So please scan it and do the assessment. It will be worthwhile, because otherwise my principal won't be satisfied. Please try to comfort me. Thank you. And that would be all, Blanca, for me. I hope I didn't speed up too much.
Thank you very much, Zorana. If your principal will not be satisfied with the survey, then ask him to go on Facebook and YouTube, because he will or she will see how many comments you have. Like, I will show you some of them.
Okay. Shall I stop the sharing, Blanca, and can you send them this code for assessment, please?
Definitely. I will
Okay. Shall I stop the sharing now?
We already stopped sharing. So
okay. Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. So really,
Blanca, thank you for giving me an opportunity to meet such nice colleagues and to meet you as well. It is really worthwhile.
Yes. With this, we conclude our 19th Pan-European Conference on Digital Teaching. And I would like to invite you to join also to the next conference, which will be in November. But before that, we also organize a free webinar, Connect with Your Teenager, in which two therapists and parents of 4 children will share their experience. I think that this webinar will not be useful only for teachers, but also for different parents. So invite them to the webinar. I hope we will gather in a big number together. I wish you a good evening or a good afternoon, depends on the location of Europe or world where you are, and see you next time. Bye.